Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. So folks, for today's episode here, we're going to be talking about how it seems to be that the one thing that has happened a lot this offseason is that we're constantly kind of getting these mixed signals in regards to one certain particular position, one certain particular, transaction. And what I'm specifically referring to is that this entire offseason, everybody has been focused, has been fixated on what is going to happen with the edge rushing position. That has literally been the focus for damn near since the beginning, because everyone was like, okay, when's Hutch getting back? Is Hutch going to be the same type of player? Are we going to be bringing back, za'darius Smith? What is the edge rushing room going to look like? Blah, 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 blah. And again, it's been one of those conversations that if you've been following the Lions for any sort of period of time over the last couple of months, you know 100% that this has been a conversation that has been continuous. It has not let up, and everybody has continued to talk about it. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up is because over that period of time, there have been things that have come out that have been said either by, Brad Holmes himself, or by za'darius Smith, or now again by Brad Holmes. And it's like, okay, what exactly is going on here? Because, again, you have to ask yourself the question, what is the actual truth of the matter here? Because we're constantly getting different things here. And the reason I'm saying that is because the most recent conversation that had been brought up about this whole situation, about the edge rushing position, and specifically with za'darius Smith, was that, hey, za'darius Smith was asked by a fan, he was asked by people what he wanted to do, and he said very specifically, I want to continue, I want to come back to Detroit, and was asked by somebody, hey, when are you going to sign that contract with the Detroit Lions? He said soon, and so everyone was like, okay, that right there seems to be what the game plan is. Maybe it was just because, he didn't want to be there for, the OTAs. He wanted to wait till training camp, whatever the case might have been. And I'm not saying that still might not happen. But now it's like, okay, a recent conversation, a recent interview by Brad Holmes has really, once again, kind of left people, kind of scratching their heads and having this big question mark of like, okay, what exactly is going on here? And the reason I'm saying that is because Brad Holmes, in a recent podcast, recent interview, whatever you want to call it, was asked about this whole kind of situation, and he pretty much was like, well, I'm actually kind of okay with where we're at. I'm okay with what we've got. I think we're in a good spot. And it's like, okay, what exactly is going on here? Let me tell you exactly what he said. We're going to do a quick breakdown here. Brad Holmes had a couple of things specifically to say as to why the Lions had made the moves that they had this offseason and why they have not made certain moves that I know a lot of Lions fans would like. The first one was okay, why in the draft did they specifically want to address the middle of the defense rather than addressing the edge room? Because again, everybody, and I mean this, everybody and their brother thought that the Lions' first pick in the draft was going to be an edge rusher. Everybody thought it. Anybody that tells you otherwise, they just are lying. But Brad Holmes specifically said this about why the Lions wanted to address the middle of the defense. He said, if you're not good in the middle, I don't care what you have on the edges and at corner. If you're not good in the middle, it's hard. Pretty much what Brad Holmes is saying there is it's like, listen, you can have great edges, you can have great corners, you can have great outside linebackers, you can have all this stuff that's on the edges of a defense to try and keep, people from taking the outside approach. But if the middle of the defense is suffering, if the middle of the defense is not good, that's not going to help you. The edges are not going to help you inside on the middle. They're not going to be able to do anything in that capacity. Outside linebackers are not really designed to play on the inside as well. Cornerbacks definitely are not designed to play on the inside. So it's like Brad Holmes looked at the decision of saying, hey, the middle is where we need to be at our strongest. The middle of a defense, the middle of a unit is where we have to be at our strongest, because it's like, listen, if you don't address the middle of the defense, well, offenses are going to exploit you there too. So it's like, well, kind of again, as I've said before in the past, it's a kind of a pick your poison kind of mindset. And the way Brad Holmes is addressing it, it's like, listen, the middle of the defense is where there's more vulnerability that can be taken advantage of. So he was like, we're going to focus on addressing the middle of our defense. Now, that's not to say he obviously didn't address elsewhere, but with Brad Holmes, we obviously know that the middle of that defense has been something that he has really taken a pride note in trying to make sure that it's taken care of. Obviously, we know drafted Tyleik Williams this offseason, drafted Aleem McNeil, has drafted Levi Onwuzurike, has drafted, other guys in the middle. Broderick Martin, brought in Roy Lopez, brought in, DJ Reader. So he has done a lot as far as trying to address the middle of that defensive line, and also obviously, drafting Jack Campbell and, Barnes and other people. He has done a lot of work to try and make sure the middle of that defense is established and solid. But again, this is not what Lions fans this particular offseason have been wanting to hear, because to them it's like, well, that's great and all, but we've already had most of those players. But what about trying to fix the edge rushing position opposite of Hutch? Because again, depending upon who you talk to when it comes to this conversation, there have been people that have said, hey, we know we're getting Hutch back, but we don't know if he's going to be 100%. We don't know if he's going to be the same type of player. And even if he does come back, and if he is the same type of player, that still doesn't address the problem on the opposite edge rushing component. But again, even in that, Brad Holmes addressed that situation. Again, speaking about Hutch, he said, Aiden looks great. He's been out there in OTAs, really didn't expect anything else. You never truly know. You don't have a crystal ball, but just knowing how that guy's wired and how he attacks things and how in tune he is with his body, it did not surprise me. He looks explosive. He's changing direction. He looks really good. So, okay, again, Brad Holmes being the guy that he is as far as evaluating talent, as far as being able to know what to look for in players, that right there is a solid, how do I say this? Reconfirmation or, confirmation, if you want to say, for this situation of, hey, you know what? Hutch is fine. Hutch looks exactly the way he used to. Nothing's going to really change there. But again, that doesn't address the other problem, which is what about the opposite edge rushing room? Because it's like, okay, you had Za'Darius Smith. Za'Darius Smith is still a top 10 edge rusher if you go by the pass rush win rate percentage from last year. If I recall correctly, I think he was ranked 8th or 10th, something in that department. So it's like, okay, you had the guy last year in Aiden Hutchinson, who was the number one person in that regard. I mean, for crying out loud, Aiden Hutchinson was well over 30% on his pass rush win rate percentage last year. And if I recall correctly, I think Za'Darius Smith was like around 17-18%. So it's like you had two guys that were, top 10 in what they do in that regard. But now that you've gotten Hutch back, why haven't we brought back Za'Darius? That has been the question that everybody this offseason for the Detroit Lions fandom has been asking, and just been like, dude, why have we not made this move? Why are things not moving in the right direction? Some people think it's because Brad Holmes is going to want to try and make a move still for Trey Hendrickson. I can tell you this right now, that's not going to happen. And I'll tell you why. If he's not yet brought back Za'Darius Smith, what makes you think he's going to bring in Trey Hendrickson, which is going to require draft capital to trade for him and even more money to sign him? That's not going to happen. If you're not going to bring back Za'Darius Smith, or you haven't brought him back, what makes you think you're going to, completely sidestep that whole situation and then throw your hat into a situation where it's even more complicated and more expensive? It just doesn't make any sense. But, again, knowing Brad Holmes addressed his ideas, his thought process in regards to the opposite edge rusher. In that, he said this. He said, we brought back Marcus Davenport on a one-year deal. He was playing really good football for us back before he got hurt. Hopefully he gets better luck on his side. He's been out there, and I would say he looks just as good. His body is feeling great, and his body looks great, and he had a good summer as well. We brought Al-Quadin Muhammad back that we signed last year, who logged some good snaps for us, played good football. He plays hard. He's physical. He'll set edges. Okay, again, this is one of those situations where it's like, it's not the answer that I know a lot of Lions fans want to hear. Again, when it's come to this whole edge rushing position, this whole edge rushing conundrum, it's been the same two guys virtually almost the entire summer. Okay, either get Za'Darius Smith to come back, or let's go out and try and get Trey Hendrickson. And I'm telling you this right now, like I just said, Trey Hendrickson's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I would be absolutely shocked if it were to happen. Again, the more likely option would be Za'Darius Smith, but that's why we're having this conversation, because it's like, I don't know what exactly is going on with that one. Because it's like, Za'Darius Smith himself said he would soon be signing a contract with the Lions, but again, it's one of those where it's like, okay, based upon everything that Brad Holmes is saying, it does not seem that we're moving towards that direction. Now, I will say this. If there's one thing that Brad Holmes has been really, really good at, it's been misdirection with what his statements mean. Because we've seen this whole kind of conversation happen back before with Jared Goff and the whole contract extension nonsense. There were people that said, oh, well, certain things that Brad Holmes is saying means he doesn't want Jared Goff as his quarterback. And it's like, no, you have to read between the lines. You have to understand what exactly he's saying here. But again, that's one of those situations where in this, Brad Holmes has been rather vague, has been rather coy, if you will, about what his intentions and what his design is as far as if he's going to bring back Za'Darius. So far, the only thing we've heard of a specific nature from him about Za'Darius is, yeah, we are interested in bringing him back, and we have talked to him and his agent. But that was months ago. And then that's why this next quote is where it gets really kind of confusing. Because the next thing that he said was this: we were able to draft Ahmed Hazanin in the 6th round. He's got some work to do from a developmental standpoint, just like they all do. But he's not some fish out of water. When you look at his production, he had the most in terms of sacks and pressures combined the past 2 years out of all edge rushers in that class. It just so happens he plays with his hair on fire as well. So we feel good about where we're at with that position. And I'm going to say this right now. The last part of that quote is where the confusion comes from, because it's like, okay, you feel good about where you're at with that position. There are two ways I can take that quote. One, what you have currently in the building, you're fine with. You don't feel like you need to add anything else, which I'm going to tell you this right now. That is where a lot of confusion is going to come from, as I'm saying with this episode, because it's like, well, wait a minute here. Za'Darius Smith said he's going to come back. He's going to sign a contract. You said you're interested in bringing him back, but now you're saying, oh, well, we feel good about where we're at with that position. That right there is like, wait a minute here. We're getting two different kind of mixed signals here. Because it's like, you know, I think Ahmed Hazanin is going to be a great player. I really do. I think that he has the potential to be one of those types of players that, you know, he slid all the way down to the lower ends of the draft, and then he's just going to come out and he's just going to explode onto the NFL. And I mean, dude, after watching that video yesterday of him in the weight room lifting over 400 pounds on a bench press, it's like, I've got no reason to doubt that. The guy has the guy has the energy of a AA Energizer Bunny battery. He's also got the strength of a damn bull. I mean, it's like, dude, this guy fits everything you look for in an edge rusher, and especially in a player for the Detroit Lions. So it's like, yeah, I think Ahmed Hazanin is going to be a great player. But here's where that comes into a little bit of a sticky area. It's like, is that going to happen this year? Could it happen? Maybe. But I wouldn't bet all my chips on it, because it's like, hey, it's the NFL. There's not a whole lot of examples of where rookies come straight in, especially in that position, and they're just instantaneous successes. It might take them a year or two. I would love it if he would. I'm not saying that he can't. He very well could. But it's like, okay, you've got him, which is a great option. He was very good in college, one of the best and one of the most overlooked edge rushers, especially in the draft. You did bring back Al-Quadin Muhammad, who definitely had himself a decent year last year for us. If I again recall correctly, I think he had like a 14% pass rush win rate in us in the edge rushing room. So again, a very good guy there who can absolutely help. And then obviously you brought back Marcus Davenport. But that's the main issue here, is that people are like, why would you bring back Davenport, who has been a notorious injury-prone doll, on a 1-year deal versus bringing back Za'Darius Smith? And again, that's where, again, a lot of people will look at Brad Holmes and be like, man, this guy is cheap. This guy is not willing to fully invest in bringing in good players. And it's like, that I think is a little bit harsh of a sentiment, because we've seen Brad Holmes dole out cash before. He's not been afraid about doling out cash. I mean, for crying out loud, let's just take a look at it. Jared Goff, Panay Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kirby Joseph. I mean, the list goes on and on. He's doled out cash before. It's not like he's afraid of doing it. But I feel like that there's a reason why Brad Holmes has not done that in regards to this particular piece. Now, the only other particular idea that I have about when he says, so we feel good about where we're at with that position. And again, this is where I said Brad Holmes can sometimes be vague with his statements and can sometimes be a little bit coy about it. Maybe, and again, this is me, kind of stretching it a little bit, even for myself, but maybe what Brad Holmes is saying is, yes, without actually being directly asked about the Za'Darius Smith situation, again, maybe there's already a prearranged agreement set up between those two, obviously the two parties, Za'Darius Smith and obviously, Brad Holmes, where it's like, okay, like I've said before, we're just waiting for the right time for this to actually happen. Because again, as the saying goes, timing is everything. So maybe what Brad Holmes is saying is that, yeah, with all the guys we've currently got in right now, we're good about that. And then again, we're still waiting on getting, Za'Darius back in the right time frame for what works for him and what works for us. That's the only other way I could potentially take that comment. But again, I know that is a stretch. So it's like, trying to figure out how to take this is a little bit on the hard part. It's a little bit on a confusing level, because it's like, I love what Brad Holmes has done. I believe what Brad Holmes has done is going to work. And I have no reason to doubt what he is saying, because, again, I've said this before. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been two of the most transparent, head coach and GM duos in the NFL. It's like, listen, they've never lied. They may not have been always 100% truthful, but they've never downright lied about what their intentions are, about what their plans are. They always follow through on what their intentions are. So it's like, okay here, Brad Holmes did say originally that they were interested in bringing Za'Darius back. They were talking to him and his agent. So it's like, okay, there's that. Za'Darius himself said, hey, I am going to sign a contract with the Lions real soon. Okay, there's that. But it's one of those situations where all of the nonsense that's been coming out, it's like you have a real hard time of trying to figure out, okay, what's real and what's not real. And that's why I know a lot of Lions fans are looking at all this stuff around the edge rushing position and they're like, dude, I don't even know what the hell to believe anymore, because it's like, I want to believe that Brad Holmes and, Za'Darius are going to make a deal come up and we're going to bring back Za'Darius to the fold. Because he says he wants to be here, he wants to continue to play here, and like I said, Brad Holmes said he wants to bring him back. But when you have quotes like I just said about, we feel good about where we're at with that position, it really, puts a gray kind of idea or of a concept around what you're going to do in that whole position, and especially when it comes about Za'Darius Smith. But anyway, folks, I just wanted to talk about this because, again, I know this is still a concept, a conversation, a topic that people are still trying to figure out, okay, what exactly is going on here? And again, I love the Lions. I've been paying attention as close as I can, and even I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is the game plan here. What's the ball game? Because it's like, it's kind of all over the place. It's very murky. It's like fog of war mindset here. It's like you don't know what's going to happen next until you make the next move. But anyway, folks, I just want to talk about this, so I'm going to end this and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I hope you all enjoyed the content. I hope you all thought it was worthwhile, and I hope you all thought it was, something that was interesting to watch. I also want to say this. If you like what you saw, please, by all means, subscribe to the channel. And also, I want to encourage you all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon. And with that, like I said, hopefully this was something you thought that was entertaining, that was also informative. I also hope that everyone has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.